Pump those brakes if you're planning a trip in 2025.
Hello from jolly old London.
If you've booked that dream vacation for the year ahead, there's something you should know.
Some big changes are in store if you're traveling over here soon.
Whether you're traveling across the pond or across the country, you might just need a new ID, or you might have to register with a foreign government before arriving there. Why the new policies? How much will it all cost? What can you expect if you're taking flight soon?
We're going to spell out some of the biggest travel changes for 2025 in this episode of Window Seat. Hey everybody, it's Jeremy in the back seat of a taxi cab here in London, just wrapping up a great family trip. We've been over here for a week. As I come to you right now, it is the morning of January 5th, 2025, and in the coming weeks and months there are going to be some big changes when it comes to travel, both across the pond and across the continent. So we thought, let's spell some of those out in this episode of Window Seat.
Starting with the change that could stop you in your tracks at the airport. Starting May 7th, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security will enforce the use of those real IDs at airports. You'll need to obtain a state-issued identification card or driver's license with a real ID seal. Now, you may already have one. Basically, it's a recently issued driver's license with a symbol in the corner that varies state to state, showing that you are real ID compliant. Here's the thing, if you're flying internationally, your passport will still work, but for those domestic flights, you gotta have that real ID. The requirement was originally set to take effect in 2020, but was pushed back because of backlogs at DMVs across the country because of the COVID pandemic. But this time, the deadline is real. So here's what to know about the real ID, including what it is and where to get one. Again, deadline is May 7th. If you're over 18 and don't have another TSA-approved form of identification to fly domestically, you gotta have that real ID compliant identification card. But if you already have another form of TSA-approved identification like a passport, then you probably don't need the real ID. Those alternatives include a U.S. passport, a passport card, a DHS trusted traveler card like Global Entry, U.S. Department of Defense ID, a border crossing card. There are others too. The best way to find out exactly what documents you need is to visit your state's driver's license website. Driver's license agencies in all the states and Washington, D.C. are issuing real ID compliant driver's licenses and ID cards right now. It can take about 2 weeks to process the request at your local DMV, so be ready, because as of early May, you're going to need one to move about the country.
So there you have it. There's one big change. Those real IDs are something you're going to have to really get used to and get a hold of before you travel much later into the year. All right, next up, let's talk about something that is an acronym that doesn't roll right off the tongue, so I had to look it up. It is the ETIAS, or European Union, European Travel Information and Authorization System, and after lots of delays, it is finally coming this year.
We first told you about this a year ago, and I'll put a link to our ETIAS explainer video in the upper right-hand corner there and in the description below. Basically, starting later this year, you'll have to apply for entry into Europe. The European Travel Information and Authorization System is an upcoming electronic system designed to enhance security and manage the entry of visa-exempt travelers into European countries. The idea is it'll keep better track of migration, epidemics, and make for a more secure flying experience for everyone. But it's going to require some extra steps for travelers. Travelers will have to complete an online form, and then applicants ages 18 to 70 will pay a €7 fee. Most applications will be processed automatically by cross-referencing various databases. That'll get an immediate response, but in some cases, processing could take up to 30 days, so plan accordingly. The ETIAS application system requires personal information like your name, your birthday, your contact info, education level, details of your travel, and more. Travelers will also be required to have a valid travel document like a passport, and it can't expire in less than 3 months, and it can't be older than a decade, according to their official website. Once approved, the ETIAS authorization is valid for 3 years or until your associated travel document like your passport expires, whichever comes first. And it permits stays of up to 90 days within any 180-day period in participating European countries. Now, travelers can be denied plane boarding due to nearly expired documents, so keep that in mind. Certain destinations have rules in place that won't let you travel on a passport if it's set to expire in less than 3 or 6 months. Some even require a certain number of blank passport pages to let people on board. Now, this was all supposed to happen a long time ago. The launch of ETIAS has experienced multiple delays, but it is now scheduled to become operational in mid-2025. Several factors have contributed to the postponement of ETIAS, like technical challenges and getting member countries to coordinate on the new system, but finally, they think they've got this figured out. So what is the impact to travelers? Well, once in effect, travelers from visa-exempt countries, including the U.S., will need to obtain ETIAS authorization before you visit participating European countries. Travel experts say a lot of people are completely unaware of these new changes, and they could be denied boarding if they don't apply through the ETIAS system before they travel to Europe mid-year. So consider yourself warned.
All right, so there you have it. That's the big change that's coming to European travel this year. Here's another change you should be aware of.
This one applies to those of you traveling to London, as we just did. We just narrowly missed the deadline because as of January 8th, 2025, in addition to passports, the United Kingdom will start requiring electronic travel authorizations, or ETAs, for non-European visitors. It's part of a broader pattern in which places that once welcomed certain travelers with minimal documentation are now imposing what can be thought of as small visas. So what is the UK travel authorization? It's a digital pre-screening measure designed to ensure that those who enter the country are assessed before they get there. The authorization process is fully online, so that makes it pretty straightforward compared to a traditional visa application. So again, starting January 8th, citizens of countries like the US who previously needed nothing more than a valid passport and perhaps a return ticket will be required to complete this additional step before boarding their flight, their train, or their ferry to Britain. Applicants can expect to pay about $13 US for their ETA, and once granted, the authorization will typically last for multiple entries over a specific period. However, travelers should always review the official UK government website or consult UK's immigration authorities for the most up-to-date regulations. Approval can arrive within minutes, though it is wise to apply at least a few days before you depart for the UK. Now, the UK is hardly the first to do this. Many travelers are already familiar with the United States Electronic System for Travel Authorization, or ESTA, which was introduced back in 2009. It requires visa-free visitors to apply online before arriving. This new step allows border authorities in the UK to conduct background checks and risk assessments before a traveler ever sets foot in the UK. By doing so, officials can better filter out individuals who might pose a security or immigration risk, thereby streamlining the arrival process for law-abiding tourists, business people, and students. But bottom line, it seems the era of visa-free travel, of a simple passport check upon arrival, is coming to an end in lots of places around the world. And so, if you're planning a trip like ours to the UK, be ready for this extra step. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the 3 biggest travel changes coming in 2025.
So if you're traveling with family or friends, or if you're traveling for business, these are some of the things you need to be aware of in the next 12 months as you head out there on the highways and byways and skyways, if you will. That's it for this episode of Window Seat. What we leave off the list, let us know in the comments below. We'd also like it if you liked and shared so we can spread the gospel as we travel all over the globe. My daughter clearly enamored of this video, as she is with all the videos below. We'd love it if you hit subscribe too, so we can continue to share the journey as we try to hit every country on the planet. We're at about 80 right now, with 100 plus still to go. Hit that big red button, as she says. We're back with a brand new episode of Window Seat next Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. In the meantime, check out one of these other episodes from Window Seat.